Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into a totally fantastic topic, mastering all 12 English tenses. If you've ever felt like grammar is just this strict, kind of confusing set of rules that you just have to memorize, well, you're absolutely in the right place. We're going to completely transform how you look at English verbs. By the time we wrap up, you won't just see a list of rules. You're going to see a powerful, deliberate toolkit for precision. We'll be looking at the functions, the subtle nuances, and even those really common errors associated with every single tense. So let's jump right in. Imagine saying this incredibly basic past action out loud. I lived in London. It's straightforward, right? You're basically just establishing a simple fact about a completed action during a finished period of time in the past. It's clean, it's simple, it gets the job done. But what happens if we tweak it just a tiny bit? Consider this version. I have lived in London. Notice how the relationship fundamentally changes here? We're no longer just pointing at the past. We are actively connecting that past to the present moment. The experience is still relevant right now. Let's take a deeper step back and see how this builds. Now we have, I had lived in London. Here, we're highlighting an earlier shift in the timeline. It's an action that was completely finished before another past event even happened. And finally, just observe this absolute masterpiece of a sentence. I will have lived in London for 10 years by next June. This reveals a beautifully complex layering. We're projecting into the future, calculating a completion point, and measuring a very specific duration, all at the exact same time. So ask yourself, what truly separates these sentences if they're all talking about the exact same activity of living in London? Well, the difference lies precisely in how they handle three things: time, completion, and duration. And understanding these distinctions, that is the true separator between basic English users and confident, advanced communicators. Here is our roadmap for today. Number 1, the tense matrix blueprint. 2, present tenses in action. 3, past tenses and sequencing. 4, future tenses and deadlines. 5, the deeper logic. And 6, a final grammar challenge. Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1, the tense matrix blueprint. Basically, every single English tense is built on this brilliant two-dimensional matrix. Looking at the grid, going up and down, we have time, present, past, and future. Simple enough, but moving across the top, we have the aspect: simple, continuous, perfect, and perfect continuous. Now, you know what's fascinating? The aspect actually often matters way more than the time itself. Why? Because it shows if an action is completely finished, if it's ongoing, if it's repeated, temporary, or somehow connected to another action. Think of this grid as your ultimate cheat sheet. Section 2, present tenses in action. Let's address a very common mistake right out of the gate. You might hear someone say, I am knowing the answer. Actually, scratch that, it's totally incorrect. It should just be, I know the answer. Why is that? Well, because certain verbs, like know, believe, understand, or own, are what we call state verbs. They express permanent states, not temporary, ongoing activities. So as a general rule, we don't use them in the continuous ing forms. Now, what's really interesting here is the perfect contrast between our perfect tenses. Listen to these two phrases. First, I have written 5 pages. The present perfect there focuses heavily on the result. The actual completion of those 5 pages. But compare that to, I have been writing for 3 hours. The present perfect continuous completely shifts our focus to the process and the grinding duration of the activity itself. Section 3, past tenses and sequencing. If you want to tell a really good story, you absolutely need the past simple. Take this clear sequence of events. He opened the door, walked inside, and sat down. The past simple is literally the ultimate engine for narrative storytelling. It gives you a crisp, clear sequence of finished actions that continuously drives your narrative forward. But what if your story is a bit more complex? This is where the past perfect comes in. Imagine saying, he had finished dinner before the guests arrived. The past perfect exists specifically to clarify that timeline for the listener. It shows us, without a doubt, that one action was completely, totally finished before the other past action even began. Here is an incredibly subtle but powerful nuance. Take the statement, she had studied French, and compare it to she had been studying French. Both of these things happened before another past event. However, that second phrase, using the past perfect continuous, really emphasizes the ongoing, continuous duration of the studying before that next event happened. It paints a much more vivid picture of the effort involved. Section 4. Future tenses and deadlines.
Did you know that just changing your tense can completely change the politeness of your question? Consider this. Asking, "Will you use the card tonight?" in the future simple is very direct, almost a bit blunt. But if we deliberately shift to the future continuous and ask, "Will you be using the card tonight?" it elegantly softens the question. It turns it into a much more polite inquiry about a future action that might just happen to be in progress.
And that brings us to one of the least used but arguably most sophisticated tenses in the entire English language, the future perfect continuous. Look at this example. By June, I will have been teaching for 20 years. It perfectly brings together a future time, a continuous activity, and a duration. It beautifully illustrates an ongoing process leading right up to a specific future milestone. Section 5. The deeper logic. So the crucial point here is how choosing the right tense completely changes the perspective and the clarity of sequence. Listen to this. When I arrived, she left. The order of events there is totally unclear. Like, did she leave because I arrived? Did it happen at the exact same moment? We don't really know. But compare that to using the past perfect. When I arrived, she had left. Instantly, boom, the timeline is crystal clear. She was already gone before I even got there. Section 6. Final grammar challenge. Let's put this into practice and test your new structural understanding with a quick interactive quiz. Okay, question 1. By next August, scientists blank the experiment. Is it A, complete, B, will complete, C, will have completed, or D, have completed? Take a second. If you guessed C, you are absolutely right. Because we have a distinct future deadline by next August. We need the future perfect to show completion before that deadline. So it's will have completed. Let's try just one more. The company blank its strategies since January. Is it A, revises, B, revised, C, has revised, or D, has been revising? Have a think about it. The correct answer is D, has been revising. The key word here is since, which highlights an ongoing process that started in the past and is continuing straight into the present moment. That requires the present perfect continuous. You see, mastering English tenses isn't about memorizing 12 rigid, boring formulas. Every single tense tells the listener exactly how you want the action to be viewed. It's all about time, completion, duration, sequence, and perspective. Being an advanced communicator is simply about choosing the precise tool for the job. So the next time you sit down to write an email or you're telling a story to a friend, are you choosing your tenses deliberately